Hi guys, it's Sarah with Something's Pretty Special, and today we are downstairs in my kitchen and I'm going to walk you through really quick how I set up and prepare for coffee dyeing some paper. Now I'm going to be coffee dyeing some scrapbooking paper, some regular copy paper, and then some doilies. So I thought I would show you how I set it up, what I use, and then kind of what my system is for getting this done. So in front of you, this is my setup where I'm going to make the mixture. What I use to hold the liquid in is just a regular roasting pan. I got this at the dollar store, so it was super inexpensive. Inside of it, you actually see some spices. Inside my mixture, I put some aromatic spices. I'm finishing off last year's pumpkin pie spice so that I can buy new for this holiday. So the reason I do that is it was actually my husband's idea. He does not enjoy coffee or the smell of coffee. And when I did my first batch of paper, all he could smell was the coffee. So he suggested putting some spices in there just to make it smell a little nicer. And I didn't think it would work, but it does. And it makes the paper smell kind of cinnamony, pumpkiny, nutmeg, cloves, all of those. And when you're making a Christmas book, it just adds an extra layer of kind of Christmas to it. The book just has this faintly holiday-y smell to it, which is just a really nice kind of sensory experience when you're flipping through the book as well. Now for the coffee, I prefer to use coffee to make my papers. Tea seems to be a little bit pale and I wanted a little bit more darker of a stain, so I chose to use coffee. Now I have used instant coffee before and it works great. Mine happened to have expired and it was a little moldy, so I can't use that today. I use this typically to make cold brew in the summer, so we're going to go ahead and use this today. And then I just add water that I've heated up in my kettle. I have an electric kettle, and so that's been heated up and ready to go. Now as far as for baking off the papers, I just put them in my oven, and I set my oven to about 200 degrees and just bake them. I want to say it kind of varies depending on kind of the day and the temperature and how my house is. And my oven's a little slow, so I want to say it's between 8 and 10 minutes is how long I leave mine in there. It kind of just depends on how saturated they are and how many I'm putting in. I will sometimes put 2 sheets per baking tray, and if I can get 2 baking trays in there at a time, then I will be baking off 4 sheets, which slows it down a little bit. If I only do 1 baking sheet at a time, it might go a little bit faster. So I kind of I wing the time. It just depends on kind of how long I see that they're taking. Obviously, I don't like put them in there and walk away. My living room's just on the other side of the wall for my oven, so I'm constantly just up and back and forth. Or I'll just sit in the dining room, which is right off my kitchen, and kind of keep an eye on everything. So that's the setup. Now, underneath all of this, this is kind of my wet station, and then I will load up the cookie sheets, just walk them the 1.5 feet to my oven, and then I have a separate spot where I let them, after they're out of the oven, I'll kind of stack them up and let them cool. So I kind of have a wet station and a dry station, if you will. Underneath all of this gray thing, it's an oven liner, and I don't use it in my oven. I probably should, but I don't. But I do keep it to protect my counters from the coffee, because this could take me a couple hours, and I have, as you can see, some pale countertops. So I don't want the coffee stains ruining my countertop. So I just protect them with this, and then I try and wipe up periodically if I do notice anything gets on the counter or the floors. So you can see, whoops, right back there, I have a pile of kitchen towels. My kitchen towels are fairly dark. My kitchen, I like reds and oranges and kind of some darker colors to counteract. So I have a lot of towels that are red, which is great because they don't tend to show the coffee stains as much. If you're using white towels or a light gray, I definitely would recommend maybe getting some darker towels or using some darker bathroom towels or garage towels, just because you're going to be doing this for a long period of time. The coffee will set in and it will stain, and I just don't like having to worry about ruining anything like that when I'm doing something like this. So, okay, let's get going here. So that's kind of the setup. So I'm just going to show you, I'm going to make this real quick. So I just take my coffee. I've already put in my spices. I just use my regular, this is what I use every day to measure my coffee. It's 2 tablespoons, and I kind of just wing it. So since I'm making a big batch, I'll probably start with 2 scoops, maybe 2.5, and we'll just see what that gets us. If I need more, that's great. I found it does take a lot of coffee to do this. It's not something that you can just do with like, you know, a little bit. It does require a lot. So let me go get the water. And like I said, I just heated this up in my electric kettle. And we're just gonna pour in the water. And I just kind of eyeball this. And I think we're gonna wind up putting the whole kettle in there. Now this is a 1.7 liter kettle. I'm not sure. It's just, I don't know, a standard kettle. So that's about how much water I put in there. If I need more, I definitely will make more. So let me turn this because I'm afraid I'm going to knock it over. And let me get some sort of stirring device. I'm just going to use a whisk. And I kind of just go through and I'm going to stir this up, kind of pick up any of those grounds from the bottom and go. Now before I put my scrapbook paper in there, I will test this with a doily or with a just piece of white paper to see if it's really dark. If it's too dark, I'll add more water. If it's not dark enough, obviously I'll add more coffee, and we'll just keep going through that process until I get it to the right kind of color. But I think this looks good. It's always going to look darker in your pan, so don't be discouraged. So let's see. I'm just going to put a piece of paper in there. Perfect. So it looks really pale now, which is good. The coffee, as it steeps, will darken up, and then also the longer that you leave the paper in there. So that right there is a pretty good color for how I like my paper to look. So what I will do is, this will just be our first little test piece. We'll just let that sit in there. Now I'm not afraid to let my paper sit in there for a few minutes to kind of absorb up the color. I know some people are like, oh no, just dip it and go. I don't mind leaving it in there for a few minutes. The other disclaimer I do want to make is if you do this and you do not wear gloves, which I am not, my fingers are going to be coffee colored for probably the next week, and I'm okay with that. I work in a job where I work in the medical field, so I do wear gloves. Probably come Monday, if I scrub my hands out and stuff, it'll be okay. I will take my ring off though, just in case. But if you work in a place where you have a nice manicure or you really can't have your hands stained and messy, I would recommend getting some latex gloves or some rubber kitchen cleaning gloves or something to protect your hands with, because they will be stained. So let me put my ring up. And then I just use kind of my old cookie sheets, ones that are on their way out. So that sat for a minute. Oh, the water's still hot. I'm gonna pull it out and I'm just gonna put it on my tray. I'm not super worried if it's straight, if it's bent, if it's got coffee grounds on it, nothing. And then I will go put it in the oven. Sorry about that. I actually had not turned on my oven yet, so let's get that preheating. This is actually still a little hot for me to grab papers out of, so I'm going to let it keep steeping and let it cool off. I don't know if you can see there's a little bit of steam coming out of it anyways. I like to use my hands because I feel like I run less risk of ripping the paper that way. I've tried using tongs and I ripped the edges and it drove me nuts. So that is my setup and how I make my liquid. Now real quick, before I go and get started, I'm going to talk to you about paper, because all scrapbook paper is not created equal for this, and I kind of just want to share with you what I like to use. So I'm going to, pardon me, I'm gonna turn you guys around. Sorry, you can kind of see a little bit of my mess here, and I'm gonna turn you down. Okay, so this is what I like to use. This is Christmas paper. So my favorite paper to use actually is by the Paper Studio at Hobby Lobby, and it's just their kind of house brand paper pack. So this is not, I don't know how to explain it. It's not heavy cardstock. It's not like your heavy quality scrapbooking paper that you would get. It's kind of an in-between. It's heavier than copy paper, but it's not as heavy as a cardstock. I guess maybe lightweight cardstock, but I feel like that's also being a little bit generous. This is one of my favorite packs that they have. I don't know if they are still selling it this year. I love this. I've been hoarding it, and it's time to use it. So I will flip through. This is beautiful. And the reason I would coffee dye this, just in case you're wondering, is it does have some white in there, and I would just want it to look a little more aged and vintage. And I could go in with my blending tools and my Tim Holtz Distress inks and all that. Honestly, this is just a little bit quicker, and I can do mass amounts of this at once. Now, if I was just using this to make a single card and wanted this look, absolutely. Sorry, my oven's at temperature. So again, if I was just making a single card and wanted that vintage look, absolutely. I could just go over this with my inks. But I need mass amounts of paper that kind of have that look, which is why I'm doing the coffee staining. But these papers are just, I think, perfect for this. I love this one. Now, you can tell this pad comes with 3 or 4, it looks like it's 4 sheets of each design. I'm not going to do all 4. I might just pull out 1 or 2 and then move on to the next pattern. So the other reason I like staining these is because in a journal, this is white. So if the front's nice and distressed, this isn't, and this is a really quick way to do it both sides and get it to all be uniform and look like it's made that way. But as you can see, like I adore this paper pad. It just has really fun prints. It's already kind of that vintage look that we all love. So I'm definitely going to be using this. And again, the main reason I like it is because of the weight of the paper. I also have some doilies, that I will be coffee dyeing. I have just it got all over my paper. I have some plain copy paper that I am using. And then I do have some 12 by 12 papers. So this is another one by the Paper Studio. This one's called Christmas on Mulberry Street. And it is also just another delicious vintage Christmas pad. This is an old one. I don't know if they still make this anymore, but I have had it. I've been hoarding it, and this is the year to use it up. The other brand of paper that makes really great papers for this is Recollections. And I haven't seen these in my Michaels in a while. I'm hoping they still have them because I think this is really, one, it's a great value, but 2, these are just paper as well. This is actually a little bit thinner of a paper. This almost feels like a copy paper weight, and this just works beautifully for tea dyeing, and the pattern options in this are so amazing. So I love using this paper as well. So I'm going to do that pad. DCWV also made 180 sheet stacks that just had, various Christmas prints. Again, it feels like just a hair thicker than copy paper. And I just love the variety of designs you can get in there for these. Some of these are old, and I do apologize. This says 2016. The Recollections one, I don't think it tells me a date. It's probably about the same age. And then this is another Recollections one, and I don't think it gives me a date on there. At least I don't see one. So these are the papers I'm using. Now underneath you will see I do have a Teresa Collins regular. It's called medium weight paper. So it is, I would say, a lighter cardstock weight. I really just want to finish off this paper pad, and it does have some really cute designs in it, so I will go ahead and use that. But mainly just because I want to finish it off. It's not my first choice for paper thickness, but it has some really cute designs in it that I think will look great kind of with the staining, and I really just want to use up the pad. I don't know, some of these pages have glitter on them. I probably won't dye those, but like that I think would look beautiful with a tea dye. And then also, again, it's not double-sided paper, so I like that I can get a mass, you know, color on the back as well, so it's all kind of uniform in color. So that's the paper I'm using. And let me set these down. I think that is everything, you guys. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put that piece of paper in the oven, like I said, anywhere from 8 to 10 minutes, depending on how many pans of paper I have going at a time. And we will see how we go. But thanks for watching, you guys. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope you guys give this a try. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Thank you to all of my new subscribers that I have, and I look forward to sharing more with you. Have a great day. Thanks. Bye.